Hello there. In this video, I will be explaining two arguments that explain why furryism, which means the culture of furries and anthropomorphic interest, is evil. First of all, a large amount of furries are sexual. I don't have to do much to prove that. And if a furry denies this, that is the only case I could really say that the anti-furry docs, which are docs made by Halo Guy 7 that give sources of furries' mental health, sexual behavior, and anything common like that in the community, and other, which that doc could be useful against a furry in denial of that, of course. But you can just go on YouTube and search furry exposed, or go on Discord and search for furry NSFW servers and find hundreds of them. It's no secret that furries are sexual. But is proving that most furries are sexual, like literally every other anti-furry, my entire argument? No. Furries always excuse all of this, or excuse themselves and say, well, not every furry is sexual, which is true. But, of course, that is why I have two arguments that make this counter-argument irrelevant, and only just an attempt to excuse themselves, like I said before. These arguments are arguments that you will not hear any other anti-furry say, as of course most of them do not have the mental capacity to comprehend these arguments, let alone make them. One of these arguments is an argument I used in my last video on anti-furries being a ruined community, and furries tried to argue against it, which I debunked all of those arguments in a stream. And if the same thing happens here, where I see more of that in my comment section, then I will probably make a stream reaffirming my point. This argument I'm going to also use in this video. It is an argument given by my friend C4us, who used to be a furry themselves, but now has made an argument which we call the guilty by association argument, against furryism itself. Now, many furries take this argument the wrong way and fail miserably to actually understand what it means, like I had pointed out in my stream where furries attempted to debunk it. Many people in general fail to actually grasp what C4S is saying in this argument, so I'm going to lay it out as simply as I can, with examples. The guilty by association argument, in the context of furryism, means that since many furries are sexual, and many furries do sexual things, and is widely known, even people joke about it, this means that a furry can be associated to that themselves, and is why they should not be engaging in such activities. Now let me give some examples if you can't catch what C4 is saying. Let's say I were to put on a Nazi patch, right? And then walk out on the street. Anyone who sees me with that Nazi patch on associates me to Nazism, and everyone knows Nazis did bad things regardless if they think the ideology itself was wrong, and also regardless if I'm actually a Nazi or not, you know? Now apply it into the context of furries, where if I were to put on a fursuit and then walk out on the street, people who see you associate you to furryism, and all the sexual things the furry community does. So, of course, we are not saying furries did the Holocaust or something, like some believed, and some people say that it's crazy to compare furries to Nazis, which honestly I beg to differ, as there is actually not furry Nazis, and honestly I could use any other big community that has a bad reputation. But, anyway, furries have a reputation of being sexual. To most people, that means they're disgusting. This is what the guilty by association argument means. You are guilty by associating yourself to the community. Now, people also confuse with who is actually doing the association as well. Now, if I were to go to a school in a fursuit, my friends would probably be weirded out and associate me to the weird sexual furries. Or even if I said I was a furry and didn't even have a fursuit, my friends would be the ones associating me to the sexual aspects of the fandom. As I know pretty much all of my friends know the sexual controversies of the fandom. I mean, it's literally so bad Ruben Sim made a fur cleaner bot for the fandom because of it. Now, with all of this, it doesn't have to just be a fursuit. It can be a profile picture online. Any type of profile, including furryism. People might say, well, don't judge a book by its cover, but again, I beg to differ. If you're seeing someone in a Nazi uniform, you're going to assume it's a dumbass trying to act like a Nazi, because honestly, you're most likely right. And why shouldn't you assume the worst, if you live in a society where apparently you can be infinite genders, or where many children are being exposed to porn easily, without parents really caring to look deeper? Why shouldn't you assume the worst when you have people committing suicide like crazy and have school shootings on an uprise with mental health declining at all-time lows? I would say that because of this, it's obvious that modern morality is completely stupid and already failed us. But that is for another video. Again, just taking into account for how bad society is and how many bad things are bound to happen, why shouldn't you assume the worst? It's common sense. Conservatives in their abusive, toxic households, progressives in their manipulative and fake, exploitative households, what do you expect? Now, I'm not implying I stand with the centrists, but back on topic. I think that this should go good enough for most people to understand the guilty by association argument, so Now with the next argument. This argument attacks the very ideology of furryism itself, so not like association or anything that could apply with other communities, but this literally attacks the core ideology of furryism itself. This argument probably has been stated by anti-furries before. They may say God created man in his own image, quoting the Bible, but they fail to explain exactly what this means. Merging an animal with a human is an abomination. It really is. Animals are lesser to humans in Christianity itself. They do not have souls. They were like AIs made to entertain and put something there on earth. They were made to serve God himself. So morphing a lesser creature or creation into a creation that God calls his children is like drawing the Mona Lisa painting, but she has Down syndrome. It's basically mocking God's creation, quite literally by making a beast. That is what the Bible verse means, and with that, it denounces the furry ideology entirely. If you are a furry and call yourself Christian, then you're basically a hypocrite. That's just being brutally honest. That is why a lot of furries are atheists or LGBTQ, which still the guilty by association argument denounces them. And this argument could even make sense to an atheist, as they should see that animals are inferior to humans. That is weird to merge them with humans, just deforming the human state. It's also why I can rarely actually take a furry seriously. And no wonder furries have a lot of porn. If they're abominations, why not just make them more abominable by making them sexual? I guess that's why they have so many kinks, too. It's making a lot more sense now. Okay, so now you have two of the best arguments of why furries are objectively evil, with the guilty by association argument being able to be understood by atheists. So what now? If you're a furry yourself, pretty clear I'm telling you to stop being one. At least start with the step of stop being publicly known as a furry and cut it out from your profiles, content, whatever. If you have friends that are furries, like I actually do, you have two options. One, you can cut them out and try and distance yourself from them if you do not think you can make them turn away from furryism itself and think they're too far gone, which, in my experience, that is the most likely case. The other option, which is one I've taken myself, and a much harder option, is to, of course, try to slowly make furries stop being furry. It can take years, but it is possible. For example, my friend Elena was actually converted from being furry to now a full-blown anti-furry, so that completely beats the stereotype of anti-furries always turning furry, because the opposite can basically happen. To do this, also, you yourself should be dead set on being anti-furry, and make it mentally impossible to turn furry, otherwise you'll just end up being like a stereotypical anti-furry and turn furry. Now, with the anti-furry community, many other YouTubers I have covered on my channel lean more that only most furries are evil. Which, let me make it clear, if you do not go against all furries in the very definition of a furry, you are not anti-furry. These anti-furries that also tolerate furries they claim to be chill or clean furries, they will title them burn furs or pure furs. These anti-furries are what we call the reformist anti-furries, as they are trying to shift the narrative of the core definition of an anti-furry. They are trying to deviate the core ideology of what an anti-furry is, because they do not have the theological ground to actually back up anything they are saying. That's why these anti-furries will shove sources in your face of this percentage of furries being homosexual, or this percentage of furries are predators, but they will never give you an absolute stance on the entire community, and I think they are the most harmful thing to the anti-furry community. So please, if you're an anti-furry, do not listen to what they say. Do not let them deviate the core ideology that makes you an anti-furry. You can trust me on these arguments, on being a true anti-furry myself, as I've had many years of experience in the community, seeing the worst to know better than to give these delusions any backing, and also with the help of others in my very small community, and that also have been helping me give the theological support to make the anti-furry stance make more sense, because I truly do believe that it is the correct position with furries versus anti-furries, and in this ideological theological battleground. The reformist one I already have mentioned, Halo Guy 7, they, without realizing it or not, just hurt the core of the community. When anti-furries watch their videos, they find Halo Guy 7's takes and what he believes is right. Same with any reformist anti-furry creator. They will question the creator's intents. They will act like the creator. They will aspire to be like the creator. And if these creators, with that influence, are guiding their own fan bases, the anti-furry community itself, from being actually anti-furry, from actually being a community that could give a reason to hate the furry community, not the individuals, but the scandals of the furry community, from all of those children who have been sucked in, if those creators influence their own fan bases to tolerate even more of the fandom, bit by bit, to fully not understand and grasp why the hell they are anti-furries in the first place, then the anti-furry community itself will be lost. It will die. It will be more ruined than it already is. If you, the viewer, maybe you're anti-furry, if you decide to just push away these logical conclusions I've put in front of you, you deny the anti-furry stance itself, and worsen the community with the fake image of an anti-furry under layers of no ideological support. So I asked, if you know the words I speak are true, then act on it. Take my advice. Maybe even share this video with others. And I'm not saying that just to get more views and promotion, but because I believe that change is possible. Because it has been proven to me before, no matter how small in numbers it can be. My channel can fall off and die, even be terminated, but I will still push for these arguments, and no one is going to tell me otherwise, as I'm arrogant and dead set on my theology, and I take pride in it. Most would say I should open up, stop being one-sided, short-minded, but if something is true, and I know it is true, just like the religion I believe in, then no one is telling me otherwise, and I beg you see that as well, as a logical truth, another logical action that I'm also asking you to do the same. I am 15, maybe around the stereotypical age of an anti-furry, but that stereotype did not stop me from proving my point, nor how young I am. Furries are evil. That take I will not be convinced otherwise on, and that is my video. Now, the anti-furry stance goes deep. It confronts the idea of liberalism. It can stand aside religion, but can be complex to understand, of course. Like I said, the other anti-furry creators unfortunately do not explain it well enough, especially reformists who basically are heretical to the community. So, if you need any clarification on these arguments or help understanding that this video did not clear up, join my Discord server in the description, as I have a Q&A channel there for this. I also just hang out in that server, as many of my active viewers know that I play Minecraft, and I just hang out with my friends in there, because I'm a human being. I have a life. So if you want to be a part of that, you can join the Discord. It's in the description. Anyway, that concludes this video. If you want more context on why the anti-furry community has actually been declining morally for years, go watch my video on why anti-furries are ruined. It also helps explain what I'm talking about with the reformist anti-furries, as I've exposed some of them myself before. Otherwise, have a nice day.